I wasn't going to miss another Afterthoughts. I don't care what needed to take place, what had to be done, what needed to be put to the side. I was tired of letting y'all down, and I was tired of letting myself down. It was time to talk about some greatness, no matter how short this may end up being. I gotta talk about Egghead. Chapters 1091, 1092, 1093, 1094. This is the longest that I've gone without doing an Afterthoughts. I can't do it anymore, man. And so I just want to summarize how I've been feeling about these last couple of chapters, as well as the upcoming masterclass that looks like it's going to be the final volume heading into the end of Egghead as we transition into Elbaf. So I want to talk about that. And man, dude, I still can't believe what happened in 1094, bro. 1094 is a game changer of game changers. When Oda introduces a new element into the story that was not present before, or that maybe may have been present, but to Oda, it was like hiding it in plain sight. But obviously, we won't have that information until we learn more about what he's really cooking there with Garcia Saturn, the origin of fruits, and stuff of that nature, right? So when you see him pop up like that in this chapter, it makes you think, because we know how many things are rooted in logic in this series, at the very least logical things in regards to One Piece. How many things have some sort of logical explanation, right, behind their existence? It's why all of us are so interested in seeing how he explains the origin of fruits. And I strongly believe that whatever we end up finding out there is also going to give us a little insight into Sanji Garcia Saturn's origins as well, and what we're going to be cooking overall with Garcia Saturn, the rest of the Gorosei, and Ibu. And so I feel like all of those things are going to be very, very important. And they could honestly tie into not only just Kuma's flashback, but also more so going into line of Void Century importance, which I think they're going to be extremely important together, as well as God Valley. I think the Void Century, God Valley, and Kuma's flashback are all going to have elements that are going to be directly tying into each other, whether it be through individuals like the Holy Knights, or the Gorosei, or whatever the case may be. These three extremely important flashbacks are going to be very keen in explaining certain things within the story, right? So when chapter 1044 dropped, we're introduced to the Luffy coming back in Gear 5 with his newly named ability in the Nika Nika no Mi. It immediately put a sort of like light bulb went on in my head that I really, really appreciated, because I love whenever stories do stuff like this. Just like in 1094, introducing a brand new thing into the story that potentially could change the way that we see everything. In this particular case, it has to do with the gods of the verse. And obviously, this was already showcased before when it comes to NL. NL was seen through other individuals as his godly figure, but obviously we know him as an individual who just has an ability they can't comprehend, and so because they can't comprehend it, they have no choice but to refer to him as some sort of deity. I'm going to assume the same thing must have happened back in the day when they saw Nika doing his thing and they couldn't comprehend what he was doing, not knowing that he had a fruit. It's similar to what happened in Wano, not having any knowledge of fruits. Luffy comes in there, they think this man is using some sort of magic or something, right? Not knowing that what he's actually doing is utilizing an ability. So it's that kind of thing that allows me to be placed into their shoes now, right? With this Garcia Saturn reveal, because now we're like, okay, I'm in their shoes. I can't comprehend what he's doing. But because of the way One Piece is, and because of the way the series has been constructed up until this point, I can see, because it's still a pirate story at the end of the day. So I can see if we can continue on with the pirate-like elements, especially if we start introducing mythical creatures into play here that were legendary in pirate legend, right? And have them be a part of the One Piece verse as we get into the final saga, and potentially maybe that being why the ancient weapons needed to be produced in the first place, was to deal with these types of mythical creatures. I am so down for that, because it just leads into explaining one thing, dominoes fall, and it starts explaining some of the other things. But with the Garcia Saturn reveal in particular, because we've never seen anything like this within the story that was not in a gag, right? It's like, what are we doing here? And I keep thinking back to what he's been doing with the gods of the verse. So now naturally I need to apply that same logic to the devils of the verse as well. And so with that being said, there has to be some sort of logical explanation for this. And I'm leaning more towards a scientific explanation for it, which is why I think it's key that St. J. Garcia Saturn was the first person to show up in this type of way. Because the way that he teleported and or spawned, in some way, shape, or form, has to have some sort of scientific explanation, because he is the science god. Because he's known as the god hand of science, the warrior of science. We need to know how deep that goes. That means this man has to have stuff on deck that goes right up there with Vegapunks, if not even beyond Vegapunks. This is a brother that, based on the knowledge that we got in this chapter of how he viewed Nika, he looked directly at Monkey D, didn't call him Monkey D. Luffy, didn't call him Emperor Straw Hat, didn't call him Mugiwara, he didn't do any of the stuff we normally see from these characters. He looked at him and was just like, Nika. As if he's seeing an old acquaintance and or an individual who hasn't seen in a very, very long time. Like, man, it's been so long since I've seen that guy. This chapter pretty much confirmed to me that these guys have really been around for 800 years. If you have not been around for 800 years and doing that, now, I don't know, brother. Your real deal might be from Dante's Inferno. You feel me? But the thing is I'm very interested in seeing how this is going to play out now. Because it's such a science-centered arc, and after Vegapunk's explanation on what he believes, his theory on the origin of fruits coming from dreams and desires, it real deal feels like we're going to be heading in a similar direction on the other side. And so I'm curious, because I want to know how Seiji Garcia Saturn was able to create something like this. If it was him that created this ability to teleport and to spawn, which I'm going to assume is not only available to him, but to the rest of the Gorosei as well. Because, like I said, I don't think there is a sort of brand new... if there is a brand new element being introduced in the story now that could like further explain... let's just say that this is going to be like the next evolution in hockey or something of that nature, then I can most certainly see this coming into play, right? Because then that's a part of the power system. Or this maybe being a part of his ability. Maybe his ability in particular, their abilities in particular, allow them to be able to do stuff like this, and because we don't know enough about it, we can't comprehend it. Similar to whenever Shanks first appeared, and he was knocking people out, we're like, what in the flying platters is he doing? And later on we understood. Same thing with other characters who were able to hit people who were Logias. Then we understood that's Armament Hockey, Conquerors, coding, stuff of that nature started making sense, right? Whenever Roger and Whitebeard they couldn't touch, we thought it was just like, that's how powerful they are. That's actually just the thing that comes with Conquerors coding, right? So, which of course still showcases how insanely powerful they are, but these explanations that we get later on, after introducing an element that has never been seen before. But because it's Egghead, because it's Garcia Saturn, because of his epitaph, I'm so curious as to what he did, what experiments he must have done back in the day. Because let me tell y'all something, man. In the same type of way they were doing experiments for everyone to see, there must have been some under-the-table experiments that must have been absolutely insane. And we've seen bits and pieces of these back in Skypiea with the sacrifices they were doing to the sun god. Right, so if they were doing that, brother, this man must have been doing it the completely other way. You feel me? So it's like, if that's what we're going with this, then man, oh man, we're going to see something very, very intriguing when we get to the Void Century in regards to this type of exploration. We've never really seen something like this exploring within this series. And it's something I've been looking forward to in the Void Century, just to see how he would handle those fairy tale like elements, because he's been so consistent with like the Adam Tree stuff and devil fruits and stuff of that nature. It feels like a lot of like Book of Genesis stuff. What we're looking at here right now, it feels like the Book of Revelations, you know, with individuals. As a matter of fact, within the Book of Revelations, there is a, I don't remember the exact passage that speaks on these demons that were tied together and bound in chains until the final days, right? That God allows them to walk the earth. And so, if Oda's playing into those elements, where that's like an explanation as to why Garcia Saturn is able to come back into play now. He needed all of this time to come back to, as he stated, to come back to the surface after so long, whatever that means. It's very, very interesting for me in terms of the Void Century context behind everything that's been done so far within the final saga. There's been so many implications, right, for things that took place back then, ever since we got into Egghead and got introduced to the Iron Giant, and then we saw the future, actually the past, with and then that's why we haven't seen the ancient weapons, right? It's because it would have given that big reveal away a long time ago. The hints we keep getting for the origin of fruits, and then Emu and the Nefeltari D, Lily, so many things with the Neurona Dynasty. I mean, we've been getting reveal after reveal after reveal after the reveal for the Void Century stuff. And so this feels like it's going to be our biggest key, though, with Garcia Saturn pulling up in the way that he did. Because if he was walking around like this casually back in the day, I'm so excited to see what was actually going down in the Void Century. It feels like it's going to be very, very insane. We already know it's going to be tragic, just based on Joy Boy's apology, what we saw with the Annie's Lobby hole, thanks to the Lelucia erasure due to the mother frame, which could very well be Uranus, that erased Lelucia from existence, and that is what caused, you know, the waves and the planet and stuff, and that could potentially be how they reset the verse all of those years ago, you know, 800 years ago. But with all these little things tying back, this one feels like one of those times 10, which is why, to me, going into what I was going to say earlier in regards to where this is going to go from here, I think now that we've introduced this element, it almost feels like it's a given that the Iron Giant is next. Or, because I can see this happening in 3 different ways. If Oda wants to extend this to chapter 1100 naturally, and have 1100 be the big thing that sets off the incident, whether it be Vivi showing up, Dragon showing up, Blackbeard showing up with Lafitte and Devon, whatever is going to happen there, right? 1100 could be like that big, we know Oda loves his numbers, he could have that be the thing. And the chapters leading up to it, he could naturally fill that out with either the Iron Giant coming in and us getting an insane lore reveal. Because could you imagine if the individual who crafted the Iron Giant was actually Garcia Saturn, and Vegapunk was attempting to recreate this thing that Garcia Saturn created, and the reason why the Iron Giant was trying to get back to the void, to the Mighty Joe in the first place, is because he was trying to get back to his creator? He felt his creator coming in, which is why he woke up. Like, bro, that's the things that are coming into fruition now, right? Because it's either the Drums of Liberation activated him, or it's his creator coming back. We don't know, man. We don't know, and it's so interesting. So, with that being said, if the Iron Giant does show up here and we get that little bit of lore dump with him and Garcia Saturn, that'd be extremely exciting. Now, that's one way we could go about it. Because the chapter just ended on the Bonnie thing, I want us to stay with that. Luffy and Kizaru just got put on hold or on pause or ended, whatever happened there. Now that has been taken care of and Zoro and Lucci are boxing distance, now we just have Sanji and Frankie and the Stella unit and Bonnie right here. I want to deal with that because obviously now that Bonnie went completely up in like swimwear, saying screw all of that, you are my target. You are the individual responsible for what I'm feeling right now in my heart. I have to go, do what needs to be done to you. And I want to know the source behind that. I want us to, this could literally be the perfect transition point to either the Kuma flashback or to just some sort of conversation between Bonnie and Garcia that could be very enlightening to Kuma's entire situation. Either Kuma's entire situation or why Bonnie feels so hurt, which I believe it either ties to Kuma or ties to the Sorbet Kingdom. Or both. Or both. So it's just very, very fascinating stuff. And so I hope we stay with Garcia Saturn regardless. That we go either him with Bonnie or him with the Iron Giant or both. I don't care. I want us to stick here. Now, I can also see a scenario where the next chapter actually does not take place on Egghead in its entirety. And we actually go over and see what either Kuma's cooking or the Revolutionary Army is currently cooking. That just depends on whether Oda wants to give a hint that the Revolutionary Army is coming in, right? So we see them setting off. He gives us like that hype, final couple pages of like Dragon Sabo on the ship. Let's go find Vivi. Let's go find Luffy and go take care of the situation at hand. Let them know the truth and all that stuff. We would all be like, holy flaggers, they're on the way. And so we would be in our mind like, Dragon's coming, Blackbeard's already here, and we've got to deal with Garcia. It's like insanity, right? Insanity is ensuing. So he could give us that, or he could just let that be a surprise reveal later on if that is going to end up being a thing, or we just keep that for post Egghead, whatever happens there. But I feel like after that chapter ended the way that it did, it's almost perfect. It's too perfect for us to transition into either flashback mode or lore dump mode. And I'm down for both. We just got 4 straight weeks of non-stop Egghead greatness with Luffy versus Kizaru and all of the hilarious shenanigans they're having there. Kizaru is a really funny character, bro. When I saw him get decked in the head in this week's chapter with that incredible move that Luffy pulled out, a brand new attack, hits him, bah, and the thing he says... He's like, oh, what, in the best translation, he was like, oh, I'm seeing stars. Like, yo, this guy's a troll, bro. It's like the new Ben Beckman, you know? He's such a troll. Gotta love Kizaru, man. But it's like, it's that type of nonchalant attitude that makes me really love Kizaru's character. And why I think the Luffy-Kizaru matchup was able to be as entertaining as it was, even though they never really got serious, is due to their antics and their shenanigans, because he never really was the threat that needed to be dealt with. The threat that needed to be dealt with is this individual coming in right now, right? This Garcia Saturn. So it's like, it makes it very exciting. Garcia Saturn pulling up is huge for the pirates, but I feel like it's even bigger for the Marines, because now the Marines are going to know, they're going to understand who it is that they're truly serving under. An individual that they can't comprehend no matter how hard they try, right? This is an individual who spawned and immediately took somebody out because he wasn't Commodore level, and he just couldn't take it. And according to the individuals in the comment section, that actually goes into a myth of who this individual, who Garcia Saturn's design could be based off of. It was like the Oshi no or something like that, which is like extremely interesting. So to me, this entire scenario is just, it was the perfect time for something like this. But also, because it's happening at the end of the arc, it could also be the catalyst as to why we get out of here. Because if the Iron Giant truly did activate due to either Gear 5 or Garcia Saturn, regardless, it's Void Sentry. Regardless of who activated it, it's Void Sentry implications. Iron Giant appears. We get out of here thanks to the Iron Giant. Luffy is exhausted right now. We get everybody, we pack our bags, we're flying off into the sunset. And now, or the island blows up, whatever happens, the Iron Giant is going to be the reason why the Strides get out of the situation alive. I guarantee you that, because we need to have a follow-up to the Frankie flashback where the idea of tossing away your creations is going to come back to bite you in the butt someday. That was such a major key thing within Frankie's flashback, is to love and cherish your creations no matter what you may think of them. Even if you think of them as failures, you still love and cherish that thing like it was your own child. Because that is something that you created, and now you hold the responsibility of carrying that thing into the world, right? That was something that Tom tried to instill within Frankie. And so if the Iron Giant was tossed away by Sanjay Garcia Saturn, we need that to happen. And we need Frankie to be a part of that situation so that then Vegapunk can see that, because that is something that's been prevalent within this arc that was just as prevalent back then within the Frankie flashback. And what better way do we know for Oda to do his get-backs than in a thematic way like that? And so I'm really hoping we get that Iron Giant thing, which is why we haven't seen it in a couple chapters. And however it ends up happening from then on, the Egghead incident officially gets insane from here on out. Because no matter what happens in the papers, Garcia Saturn, the Gorosei, the Marines, they are going to be there, whether it be in a good light or a bad light. Something huge is about to happen with them. Something massive. And I can't wait to see what that is. And so those are my thoughts. I apologize for not being able to get any comments this week, especially for a chapter of this magnitude. But thankfully, we're going to have another chapter next week where we can discuss and react to this greatness, man. And so I will see y'all for chapter 1095. Thank you so much for watching. These last couple of chapters, this entire arc has been really special. But the last couple of chapters in particular, you can really tell Oda's trying to wind down and get us out of here. But it just keeps escalating, man. And you keep wondering, how in the world are they going to get out of this situation? It feels like it's going to be almost impossible with that thing on the island. It's like, good God, man. So I will see y'all next time. Hope all of you have an awesome day. Thank you so much. And I apologize for not doing an Afterthoughts for quite some time, but I had to do one for this one. I had to do one, man. Even if it's this late, I had to. Come on, bro. After something like that, and we cooking.